Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever they are.
What she said.
Hey everybody, we're so excited to hang with you today.
Yeah, excited to be able to kind of go into a different topic than we usually kind of talk about. I mean, different and not, right? Because I mean, like we always talk about personal branding, but really kind of getting more into the employee advocacy and the business owners.
Team.
Yeah, the team.
The team side, which is super important to us. Who's here? Tell us who's here, how we doing? Let us know where you're in from. We love to see who's hanging with us.
All right, so Julian Taylor was here. What's up, Julian?
Texas,
good to see you.
We know that.
We got Danielle here, Erica.
Yeah, well, more people will continue to come in. Definitely chat us, ask us questions throughout the event. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see, I guess, here we go. Oh, there's Bez. Hi, Bez.
What's up, Bez?
Amazing.
Good to see everybody.
Oh, Julie Krause from McCombs. What's up, Julie? Cool.
Craig T is in the house.
Craig T from Leander.
Yeah, you know Craig T for his name many a times.
I do. Well, amazing. We're so excited you're here. Keep telling us where you're in from. We love seeing our family in. As you might know, I'm Rachel B. Lee.
And I'm Joshua B. Lee. I always got to say it funny because Rachel's like, you got to say it like you really mean it, like Joshua B. Lee. See, she always dances every time I say it.
What's up, Dagan, Cassandra, and Erica? We're so excited you're here. But we're the co-owners of StandOut Authority. And we believe we're in the human revolution.
Yeah.
And everything that we're here to talk to you about ultimately is about you. It's about you. It's about you standing out as a human. And Josh and I really believe that that's what we're here to do, is to humanize marketing. And we do that through personal branding, content, and really kick-ass LinkedIn strategies.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming, right? I mean, like this, Rachel and I have been corporate lady boss to, serial entrepreneur, being able to go through these things. And, we've been in that, what people call the digital revolution, kind of going through. And because of our past and what we've been involved in, this is why we have StandOut Authority, right? This is why we believe we've got to be able to stand out together. And it's a human revolution, especially in this world of AI and everything that's going on right now too. So that's what this is really all about, right? Not just StandOut Authority, what we stand for, but what we're going to talk about today is the human element in the room that I think that we all have to be able to make sure we're aware of as we go through, not just in life, but in business as well.
Yes. And so we're so excited to see more people coming in. We'd love to know just who is in the room as more and more people join. If you work for a company and you're an employee, are you a business owner like us where we're running teams, or are you that executive at a bigger company? So you're still leading a lot of employees, but you have that executive hat on.
Yeah.
So we'd love to get a feel from you.
You guys will see a poll pop up. This is why we always love Blue Jeans by Verizon, because it allows us to be able to do these kind of fun polls and really be able to get a feel more of who's here and what's going on.
Yes, which thank you for our shout out to Blue Jeans by Verizon, who has been our partner the last several months. Today, you are experiencing Blue Jeans Studio. We absolutely love this product for our events because of these amazing capabilities, polling. We just really love the interface. So thank you so much, Blue Jeans by Verizon, for being a supporter for us. Okay, cool. So as we see more people come in on that end, it looks like we have right now employees, which is great. So today we're here to talk about employee advocacy, but Josh and I really believe that that's a personal branding conversation.
It is.
And
every company is run by human beings. Most marketers forget that, and sometimes, I hate to say it, some companies forget that as well too. Yeah. So that's why we really feel this personal branding opportunity truly is the best way to be able to be an advocate and be able to build advocacy within the company and be able to share that kind of aspect.
Yeah, and boy, do companies really need that. My past experience is one of working at a small to mid-sized marketing agency, then being at an MBA, UT, McCombs, Julie's here, and being at Microsoft and Gartner and really understanding what it is to be an employee. And Josh has a different perspective. He is not the employee for a little bit.
I was an employee
For a few years there.
Let's see, the last company I worked for was Singular Wireless. And more than likely, most of y'all probably don't even remember that company. So, it used to be GT Wireless before there, and then it was bought and sold by AT&T and all kind of other crazy stuff. So it's been a couple of decades.
Yeah. So,
but it doesn't mean that I don't understand, because I've had throughout my 16 companies that I ran over the last 2 decades, I've worked with and had a lot of amazing employees and been able to figure out the right things and the wrong things to be able to do to really build that team environment that really drives a business and drives the people within it at the same time.
Yes. So we come from these different perspectives. And as we thought about today's conversation, it's pretty astounding what's been happening over the last few years as all of us have experienced, COVID and lots of different worldly events, and the shift inside the workforce is palpable for all of us. And in 2023, but not just in 2023, employee engagement has really continued to go down, which is interesting because you would think that maybe people are more engaged as they have, working from home or more flexibility.
And this is why we're seeing the ebbs and flows of being able to go, hey, everyone work remote. Oh, nope, never mind, pull you back in, right?
Yes.
And because companies are still trying to be able to figure that out. How do we actually continue to be able to keep them engaged? Because I'm going to be honest, it's as being an entrepreneur, working remote or working out of my house for many different companies and things like that, it's not the easiest thing to be able to do and to be able to stay connected to your team. I mean, we have teams all around the globe. So really being able to figure out how to be able to make everyone feel inclusive and included is a tough task.
Yes.
And that's what people want to be able to do. They don't just want to work for a company more. That's what we're seeing, Rachel, right? So many things of people leaving companies, being able to jump around, not going for a job, even though they said they were gonna go for it, because they want to be able to have that connection as well. So
yes, exactly. And this is a kind of interesting for me too. And Bez, I do love Gallup, and we always like to bring research into what we do here at StandOut. So 32% of employees are engaged, which that's like 30% has been pretty much the average for the last decade plus. So just that idea that 70% of your people, your teams are not engaged. So just wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've been seeing people, the employees that are engaged, they like their company, they're excited about promotions, they are feeling connected, that number is steadily decreasing. And actually 18% are actively disengaged, which speaks to some of the interesting things we heard, the last several months around quiet quitting.
Yeah.
And I know from talking to my friends at companies, right, it's like pretending you're, on the computer, but you're not, you're doing things because you just really want to tap out. And so,
well, the funny, my mind's just, I'm laughing because I'm like, well, maybe if companies weren't just giving Gallup polls all the time talking about what's going on, and they just had the texting you, just kind of, it's time to gallop around the room, right?
Oh Lord.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, like companies would be like, yeah, dude, okay, it's Gallup time. Everyone gallop around the room, and they go back in rather than going, hey, here's what's going on. The difference between Rachel and I, in my mind, how I think it's creative.
Yes. And, just highlighting what Bez has to say here, employee engagement is generally going down unless you are intentional and positive energy in the area with right, exactly. I'm just reading this. The moves and needle when the top leader. Yeah, exactly, Bez. Exactly. So thank you for providing that perspective. And Bez is actively very involved in recruiting and one of our,
and part of our family.
So he has a really interesting.
We have no hats around.
And what the data showed, and Gallup's been doing this survey. They do it every quarter. It's 15,000 plus people. By the way, in the U.S. So that is one thing to caveat. So to me, a 15,000 person study is quite impressive. even though I hear
Yeah.
you on the engagement that declined the most from before the pandemic was clarity of expectations, so people not knowing exactly what they need to do, opportunities to learn and grow, which is, harder to do that when you're remote. But the three I really wanted us to lean into is feeling cared about at work.
Yeah.
Connection to the mission or purpose of the company.
That would have been a good poll too, Ray. Do you feel that you're cared about at work, right? I don't think the average person probably sees that from their employer, right? Being able to kind of go through,
Yeah.
I think most people kind of look at it and go, I don't know if they care about me, but they care about if I get my job done or not, if they get the work done or not, right? And that's that difference that people need to shift and change, right? It's very similar to, when we talk about social selling and being able to go in, right?
Yeah.
It's like, not what can I sell you, but how can I help you? And I think this is the difference that we need to be able to see within companies right now. And as employers, we need to be able to go, not have you done your job, but how are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just put that poll in there, so it should be active where it's ready.
You've got to end the other poll to do a new poll.
Okay, I'm going to end that poll. I'm going to start that poll because I like that idea. Got it. Do you feel cared about at work? And this one's interesting even for, I think, me as...
Do I make you feel cared at work?
It is different. I know a lot of people here are employees, and I've been an employee and then now business owner, and we have a team. And when you think about feel cared about at work, it's like, I don't know. That's my own job, is like self-care.
Yeah.
And I'm more concerned about more of the people that work for us more than anything, because I feel like if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, you should care about what you're doing and feel cared about.
Well, this is the human revolution, right?
Yeah.
And this is what we're trying to be able to shift perspective on what actually kind of goes through. It's not about getting the job done. It's about, really the frontline people. These are the employees that are on there. If you're not actually taking care of those frontline people and making sure that they feel, heard, was it heard, seen, heard, and known? I don't know. I forget the three that are kind of going in there.
Yeah.
But that's what we want to be able to have, that shift. So, that's that feeling cared at work and connecting to a mission and purpose at company, right? Because if they feel the care, they're actually going to connect more to the mission and purpose of the company, because that's an alignment. As human beings, we make decisions emotionally based on some degree of love or hate. And that doesn't matter just in buying or selling something online. It also goes into when you're at work and being able to actually connect with the job or the company that you work for.
And people are saying, I'd say we got about a 50-50 that they do and don't feel cared about at work.
Yeah.
From our, sample size here. So, and this, we kind of hit this point of what we were saying around, the big conversation over the last 3 years has been remote work, hybrid work. Are people more engaged if they're at work, And like this data shows that regardless, all these elements declined.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty interesting too, because you would think that if you were in person, you'd feel more engaged. At least what you'd
At least you walk by your boss and they kind of smile at you, maybe, and like there's a connection there.
Yeah.
Or they scowl at you like, you didn't do the right job today.
I don't do that. It's so old school. You don't even know, because Josh hasn't been in an office for long enough.
I'm in my office now.
Yeah, this is our office. So, I think the real question is, we see what's happening, and how can people advocate, right? How can people speak about their company and want other people to join, whether it's other employees or customers, if they're not engaged?
Yeah. And this is the biggest thing, right? You've got to be able to understand that these companies are realizing finally, I think after years of Rachel and I screaming it to the top of our lungs, it's not B2B, it's not B2B, B2C, it's H to H, human to human. Every company, those human beings connect with the other people that are out there, and they're going, oh, wait, we've got to be able to pay attention to our employees. We've got to be able to actually humanize the business. And guess what? You as employees, you are the you and human at these businesses.
Yes, exactly. And so ultimately, we believe if you want engaged employee advocates, you have to make it personal. They have to feel personally connected. Those lines between here's my job and here's who I am cannot be how things are today. They have to feel connected. And when we look at those 5 elements, for us, feeling cared about at work, connection to the mission or company, and opportunities to do what you do best is personal branding.
Yeah. Understanding your own superpower, which is being able to do that, then you're actually aligned more. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but companies don't really think about that, right? Because they don't think, oh, personal brand, you should have a voice. And I know I have felt restricted in the companies that I've been out where I was allowed to have a voice to an extent, right? It was great when I advocated and
here's your
tweeted
voice
and
here's
social,
your line.
but if I wanted to speak at a certain event or do things, I was restricted because I wasn't at a certain level, or I wasn't, deemed a certain perception inside the company, right? And that is not helping me build my personal brand. And that's ultimately what we would hope that people try to change, this mindset of really thinking about.
What's empowerment? Yeah,
empowering your employees to be their personal brand inside the constructs of your company. And so we do have people here that are employees. And so what we want to talk to you about, right, because there's 2 sides. There's the people that are listening that are managing people, and then there's you as the employee. You as the employee first need to really figure out what the heck your personal brand is and what you're trying to create, and vocalize that to the company. And then those companies need to open up their ears and create spaces so that they understand the personal brand.
And Rachel, I think this is what really speaks to me when we kind of go into this, because the fact that I look at back when you were at Microsoft, right? Being able to go through, you were working your way up the corporate ladder, being able to go through, but once you started owning a personal brand, being able to being a stronger voice, they saw you more. They gave you more opportunity. They gave you more power within the business and more visibility, and they backed your play. 100%. So this is the biggest thing that I want y'all to be able to think about is you can't wait for your company to come in and go, hey, I think it's time for you to build your personal brand. Why don't you go, here's the tools that you need to be able to do it. It's just not going to happen yet, right? So this is where what we're going to talk about right now, the branding lady boss of LinkedIn, well, everything, my life, is going to be able to kind of jump through and talk about some of the things that you can do today to be able to help that personal brand stand out, that will allow that company to see you and then push you into that employee advocacy opportunity that then works with you and the company.
Yes. And I just want to highlight here that Bez was saying, a lot of employee engagement has to do with your direct supervisor. And there are a lot of bad leaders in the ranks. And Bez, I think you're 100% correct on that. You are 100% correct. Which is why if you do have a bad manager, you still need to take responsibility for where your career is going. And I've had great managers and I've had some tough ones. And that still didn't stop me from focusing in on what is it that I'm trying to create and putting my voice out there. So you really need to kind of stand strong in that.
And Rachel, this is where, I say this because this is from that entrepreneurial mindset, but I always say not one man or one woman can dictate my future. The only person that can do that is myself, right? So they don't have control over me and what I actually do and where I can succeed. So you've got to be able to take that control and that ownership, and then be able to create and forge that path for yourself, be it in that business, be it in life, whatever it is. And that starts with understanding who you are, what you stand for, and where you want to be able to go.
100%. So let's just talk about that. And for some of you that are part of our family and know a little bit of how we define a personal brand, in our minds, a personal brand is how others see you. And this is so often what people think about when it comes to branding. What's my reputation? It's the Jeff Bezos quote. It's what people say about me when I'm not in the room. And I do agree with all that because perceptions are reality, and so, and especially inside of a company, those perceptions, people are watching you. if you are that entry level, mid level, they are constantly seeing how you're showing up. And you really do want to think about, are they perceiving me in the way that I want them to, that the expectations they have for that promotion? I think that's where there's so much of that gap, right? But
that's not everything.
That isn't the full story. And this is actually where I see employee engagement advocacy having the most trouble, is the how you see yourself. Because people over the last few years, including ourselves, Josh and I, have really had a second to rethink who we are, what do we want to create in this world, kind of just more of that, woo or personal development.
Ray, I mean, I think it's interesting because kind of where my mind goes here when we talk about this, how others see you, how you see yourself.
Yeah.
I talk about the kids, right?
Yeah.
I think about the kids because like our kids, Jada and Skylar, they're going through, as their parent, I'm like, oh, well, you've got to be able to dress this way or make sure you're taking care of yourself or do these things. And it's there's how I see them, right? And how I see myself to be able to put on them. But they're confident. They're like, dude, I'll just wear whatever. I got whatever I'm wearing, hoodie every single day.
Red Panda,
whatever it is. And so it's so empowering to be able to see how some of this youth are going through and going, look, this is how I'm going to show up because I see myself at a certain way and this is it. I don't care how others see me. And we're seeing a paradigm shift. And I think we're going to see those two, once they actually really lock in the line, especially with the younger generation, really be powerful and these powerful brands stand out.
Yeah. Yes.
And we need, as an adults, we need to be able to pay attention to that.
I think you're right. And we'll see how the kids change, right? As culture and society molds them as they get older. And that's what's going to be very interesting for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, because Gen Z is already coming into work with a different mindset. I don't want to digress too much on that because I don't know if we have any Gen Zs in this room, but we have Gen Zs working for our company. And it is a very different equation for them being an employee and never meeting Josh and I in person and having everything virtual, not having as many team meetings. So that idea of how do I want people to see me and how do I see myself is what the essence of personal branding is. And the most important thing for us as leaders in a company is to help our employees feel cared about, connected, and personal through this idea of personal branding, which ultimately is helping people feel connected to who they are,
first and foremost,
who they are and what they want to create. How can we as a company help you create what you want, Rachel? When I said I want to speak on stages, and that's important to me, if I say that and then you say, well, that's not really something that's going to be possible for you here, well, that's a problem. You now just took away one of my energy drivers, where the answer could be, okay, that's something that's difficult here, but let me figure out a way with you to make sure that we can empower that part of what drives your energy. So it comes both ways. You as the employee need to be clear on what you need to stay connected, feel cared about, and purposeful. And the employee needs to be asking and creating those spaces, especially for talent that you want to retain, which you want to retain great talent.
I mean, people still going into meetings going like, and the employer asks like, how's everything going? Tell me everything. They're like, oh yeah, everything's great. No problem, no issues.
Yeah.
And that's BS because it's
BS.
usually not the case. And because they're too scared to be able to share what's truly going on and why. And this is where you have to be able to actually have that true connection to the powerful voice inside of you, knowing that you add value. You are there not just to do a task, but to add true value to that company by being you.
Yeah. And I just want to, before we go, we have a few things on steps, and we'll take some questions and we'll close out here. But there's just been some great chatter in here. Craig said some of the
Snoop Dogg.
There was a Snoop Dogg comment from Bez, but some of the frustrations of employees working for companies is that executive management seems to expect or mandate that employees need to brand the company on their personal social media like LinkedIn instead of using LinkedIn for their personal business brand. You're 100% right, Craig. And these few tips, just a few in the short time we have, is our way of flipping that dial.
You still have to stay within the social parameters that a company lays out.
Very important.
But there's definitely ways to be able to work with it, not trying to be pushed down against it.
And to Craig's point, make people feel like they need to share certain stuff that maybe isn't connected to their personal brand. So that's a great point. And I'm just, thinking, I'm just looking at the great chatter. So one of the key principles that we have here in building personal brands, and this is the foundation for our clients, for our StandOut Authority experience, is these 4 key pieces of building your personal brand. So if you are the employee today, think about this for yourself. If you have a team, think about how can I ask these questions to my team members so that they start thinking about it. So it runs both ways.
Feel supported and empowered.
Right.
Right, to be able to understand who they are rather than what they can do.
Exactly. And by the way, Josh and I, for one of our clients, we went to their team down in Florida and we ran several hours of workshops. And then we did some follow-up stuff. So we do this stuff with companies, just so you'll know. And it was, how incredible was the feedback when first the leader, the CEO, wanted them to go through these steps.
Yeah.
And then seeing the team think about themselves in ways they never imagined. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, because I mean, so many of them were scared about how they would show up, what they would say, how are they going to be able to share.
They were scared to say it in front of their team.
There's so many rules and BS, not even from companies though, y'all. I mean, it's just, but what you put on LinkedIn can't have any human element in it. And it's like, who said that? Who made up that rule? I mean, LinkedIn is 100% around the people behind it, the humans. So, I mean.
So let's go through these pieces because they're really, really powerful. One is, what are your skills? And you need to think about what are your superpowers. These are hard skills. So for
Rachel has to like kind of make sure that I go in because I'm like, oh, superpowers. Okay, Superman, he can fly. We've got Deadpool, he can regenerate, and she's like, no, we're going off the wrong superpowers.
But those are their hard skills. Like those are literally things that they can do. So it's totally cool.
Wonder Woman can jump and throw a lasso really far.
Yeah, like why
we need more powerful women superheroes.
So when you think about your superpowers, this is probably not going to be the lasso or flying, but it can be branding. It can be communicating.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many different ways to be able to look at that. But I mean, you can't expect someone to be able to, if you're waiting for someone to tell you what your superpower is, guess what? There's a line of 1,000 people waiting in line to tell you exactly what you should do and how you should do it.
Yep.
But that shouldn't be the case, right? You need to be able to take control of your own life, your own direction, and be able to kind of say, look, this is what I stand for. This is what I'm best at. Let me stand in my superpower.
Yeah. And the more that you lean into your strengths in your career, the more your career will catapult and the more happy and connected you will be. It's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given is lean into your strengths. Your audience, think about who can relate to your specific background and experience. And this is, if I'm an employee, and I know we had, some of the UT kind of community in here, they're working for, they're helping the students, right? So that's part of their audience. But then there's also the fact that Josh is a dad, right? He's an entrepreneur for 20 plus years. So he relates to entrepreneurs. So think about with your experiences and who you are and what you do, who can relate to that, because it will make it much more helpful for you when it comes to actually sharing any content.
Well, this is the whole piece too. I mean, everyone's seen that person online. They're like, I can help you make 7 figures, but they've never done it. Or I can help you lose 300 pounds, and they've never experienced that. How can you actually help and show someone if you've never experienced it? That's your audience, right? Your experience, your life is that relatable. And as humans, we look for commonalities. So like that's how you're going to be able to define your audience based on common traits that you've experienced as a person throughout your life.
Yes. Differentiation is really important. What perspective and credibility do you have that others don't? And this is something I think so much about if you were getting interviewed by a company, or your boss, you want this promotion or you want to move on to a different team, and they're really asking about like, well, why you? What makes you you? And those are very common questions.
I've got great hair.
Right. You need to have an understanding of what makes me, Rachel B. Lee. What is it about me that is different than the hundreds of other people around me at the company and in the world? So the credibility can be school, education, it can be
background,
certifications,
experiences.
There's the languages you speak, countries you've lived in.
But at the same time, it could be family, right? I mean, it can be able to go through. Do you have kids? Are you a parent? Are you not? Are you not? Have you been divorced? Have you not? Right? All these things, people look at it in the business sense, but I want you to be able to think of that human sense of the experience you're going through. If you've gone through, and let's say you love rock climbing or you love golf, right? These are different differentiators that experience based on what you know and how you can actually leverage that within the business to give different perspective.
Yes. And then to keep us going here, passion. What are you super passionate about? What gives you energy? What makes you excited? What are your energy drivers? What are your energy detractors? And let me tell you, a lot of people are in jobs right now and they say they hate their job. And I say, I've just talked to multiple of them.
Dude, so many people that you went to school with. And I was like, why would you go to school twice and still hate your job?
Right, it is true. This goes into this passion. What are you doing every day that's making this so miserable? For me, being in Excel and data all day, kill me. Like, that is not gonna make me happy in any single way possible. So getting clear on that was actually an awakening for me, because when you go to the MBA and you do things, they make you believe that you need to be good at a lot of things. And the truth is, I didn't like that and I wasn't that good at it. And
my passion is doing PowerPoint presentations.
Josh hates PowerPoint presentations. Like, it stresses him out to such a degree, right? But he's good leading it, communicating it. His passion is
I can hang out if someone helps me actually make the presentation.
He loves speaking, and I do too, but he hates the PowerPoint part, and I'm great at PowerPoint. So just to give you an idea. And that
was something that you and I learned, though. I mean, that was a beautiful thing. Like, what I like, what you like, because we were trying to butt heads at the same time, trying to do the same things. Yes. And it created a lot of people like, how do you work together? How do you run a life together? It was really understanding our different passions and that they are different and skills and really being able to balance those out.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in any company.
Of course. Yeah. And so these are the elements of building a personal brand. So today, think about this for yourself, and these elements will help you in explaining who you are, whether it's in that meeting with your boss or it's online, okay? This is just a touch, really, of what it takes to build your personal brand, but we wanted to leave this with you here today. The other piece for employees to feel, we have 4 kind of key points here that will come to a close. You have to help your team connect their personal brand, so that work that just happened, those 4 steps, with the goals of the company's mission.
Really important. I mean, being able to understand. I mean, what do you do and how do you align with the different values? Because if you work at a company and you don't align with their values, and if the company has people that don't align with their values, there's gonna be, it's just oil and water. It's not gonna, I mean, like, jobs can get done, but growth will not happen, not only for the business, but actually for the people within inside of it.
Yeah, I would say, because I talk to a lot of women's groups, and they're mostly employees at Fortune 500 companies across the globe. And I would say this area is by far the biggest issue for companies right now. And the reason why they're not engaged and advocating is because the companies, they might have a good mission, but they're not doing a good job in having that mission come alive inside the person. They're forcing it. And really, that needs to be a mutual come along for the journey, coming together. Doesn't mean every piece of what the company does you are excited about, but for me, I always say I still am such an advocate of Microsoft, right? And LinkedIn, because the mission behind Microsoft is to empower every single person and organization on the planet to achieve more. I know the mission that well because it said so much, and that I can get behind. And that I always believed was a powerful mission, and the way in which they do it is incredible. So I was very comfortable and continue to be very comfortable to advocate for Microsoft. So really important for you to think about, look at the company's mission, look at what they're trying to do, and think to yourself, is this aligned with what I'm trying to create, my personal brand mission and who I am? Okay.
Number 3, create opportunities for employees to collaborate. I mean, like, this is that whole piece, right? Like, being able to go in, what are you doing to be able to empower these employees? How are you using, what tools are you going through? Like we're using Blue Jeans, by Verizon right now, right? There's so many different ways to be able to collaborate. Are you doing Zoom calls all the time? Are you using different other tools? Are you doing polls? Are you asking the questions, right? There's so many different ways and so many different virtual opportunities these days, especially with remote work, to be able to bring people along with the journey and let them engage, rather than, like, if we were just sitting here and not paying attention to Julianne or Elizabeth or Baz, and I'll be honest, Rachel, I've had partners in the past. We started the whole Zoom conversation like, all right, y'all, just heads up, I'm not going to look at your comments at all, and then I'll talk to you afterwards. And so they just talked at their audience all the time. And I was like, I'm sitting in the background going, what the? Like, dude, you can't do that. No one wants to be talked at all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where these, we have to be able to say, like, even as employees, as business owners, you don't want to talk at your employees, and the employees don't want to be talked at. And so that's where we have to be able to find different ways to be able to co-collaborate and be able to bring them along for the journey.
Yeah, and there's such amazing tooling. Again, we're here with Blue Jeans by Verizon. We also use Microsoft Teams. We use Google. I mean, we use a lot of different capabilities to fuel our business and to communicate with our team. So we know it's not easy too, because that's also the hard part, is the tools. But let's use the technology to help our people and ourselves feel engaged, and have it fun. Make it fun, as much as possible. And then the last, but definitely not least piece is, making it easy for employees to share on social media and to feature them. So back to that point before where, companies are kind of pushing people to really just talk about the company.
Oh my God, they just give them canned spam of, what's the company, what's the talking
Here,
about.
go put this post on this blog.
No one wants to put that on, because again, it represents they're using their own personal brand to be able to push an agenda that doesn't have an alignment and has no sense of self within the content.
Right, exactly. And so some brands that have done really phenomenal jobs at this are Starbucks. In fact, they call Starbucks partners, so they don't say employees. And I've seen many companies actually move away from employees. And this is where they're just constantly featuring their people across the world. So I love this. And then I pulled this example from LinkedIn of actually Madeline, who I worked with previously at Gartner. And she's really great on LinkedIn because she's now included, and she's so excited. And they won the South by Innovation Award.
South by does an amazing job too, just featuring everybody. So,
And so here she is, sharing the included. She made sure, and she's just so honored. So I think this is where that's like she's excited about the company. And then,
well, it's so much easier now, Rachel, with social. I mean, this is what I want you guys to understand. I mean, I was doing this 10, 15 years ago, but we were doing it in a form of, to be able to highlight employees and people that work with us. We were actually doing press releases, right, of different accomplishments, sales goals, different, as they got different levels in the business and stuff like that. And it was amazing to be able to see the smiles, that they could be able to, like, wow, like, my company is highlighting me. This is something I can take with me as a press release. That's the same thing as a social. As a company, if your company is actually highlighting your content that you're putting out there that is not only relevant to you, but relevant to the company, and actually draws more eyeballs in to be able to connect with that business, that's where the opportunity is. They have to be able to take that, and that's the next level we're going to start seeing more and more in businesses. And that, but it starts with you, everyone here on this recording right now.
Yeah. And I love what you did with your employees at Press Feature. I think that was way ahead of your time, way ahead of the times, honestly. So that's awesome. And then,
I mean, this is one of the other pieces, y'all, if you haven't heard about it. I mean, look, we're all, not everybody, but, half the world now is paying for Twitter verification to get the blue check mark. Facebook just rolled it out. and Instagram rolled it out. If you look at those, I mean, that's over $30, $40 a month just to be verified on these platforms and to be able to have the things that you should have for security and all those aspects. What we love about what LinkedIn has launched, if you haven't heard about it, they're doing their own verification process, but guess what? They're not making you pay for it, right? They're letting you go through, and they're partnering with people like Clear to be able to actually verify you as a human being. They're partnering with 4,000 different businesses right now to be able to verify. If you have an email, work email that aligns with that business, now you can be verified on the platform that you truly work for that company, being able to go through. These are the things that we continue to be able to see, and it's going to give you more validation because there's too many people out there, especially no matter if it's LinkedIn or not. You'd be amazed at how many people say, oh, I work for somebody else, and they really don't. I mean, there's a lot of other aspects that are out there. So this right here is the future. We're seeing it across every social media platform about being verified. And I'll be honest, I think LinkedIn's going to the next step. And this is truly being able to be that employee advocate, because now you can say, hey, I really do work for here because I've been verified.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. And I love that it's using Microsoft Entra, Entra. So again, just part of the reason why we're, such advocates of the work. Yeah. So, with that, this is what we think employee advocacy and really getting engagement is all about. Hopefully some of these tips and thoughts will help you think about your personal brand.
And what Julian said there too. I mean, it truly is. I mean, you've got to be able to give them the freedom to share about themselves and how they align with the company, what they're doing, how they're being able to go through, and then feature them, right? This is why we talk about LinkedIn. Like, we have a company page and we have your personal page. Allow the personal pages to be able to shine about that person and how they relate with the company. And then as the business, grab those posts and share them over to be able to highlight those individuals that are actually being able to really show up and shine.
100%. Yeah. And we just do want to say thank you so much to our partner, Blue Jeans by Verizon. This conversation is definitely a big part of working with them and understanding what's going on and what they're facilitating with their teams. And we're just really honored. So thank you. And then Josh and I are very excited right now. We've launched our StandOut Authority experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've really been working hard on for the last year to be able to go through. Something we never really launched. So it really gives you the keys to the castle, so to speak, on what we do and how we do it with our most elite clients, giving the people that are going to be part of this program not only live access to Rachel and I for over 8 weeks, but all the tools, all the trainings, and the plug and play to be able to implement what we do at the elite level on your own every single day to be
really be that advocate, right? How do you be an advocate for yourself, for your company? So would love for you to check that out. The link is in the chat. If there are any additional questions, if we see anything come in, we'll kind of answer. We'll hang out a few minutes here.
I mean, I gotta give a holler out to Dollar Bill, my amazing father-in-law that's on.
my dad's here. Thanks, Bez. Thanks so much for everybody hanging out with us. And 2 different LinkedIn accounts under your name. Well, you only have one name, one LinkedIn account, but you can have company pages as well.
You can have multiple company pages, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just don't want to be able to have multiple names. Like, I don't want to have a Craig Ingram and a Craig T. Ingram out there. So because that'll really mess with the algorithm and your visibility. No matter if you have different companies, different backgrounds, different things you do, that commonality between all of them is you, and you want that to be able to shine, but allow the different businesses to be able to highlight the different people and the things that you do on those pages.
Yes. All right.
Well, again, Rachel, I think we covered everything. Y'all, again, 45 minutes with us. That's a long time. I mean, Rachel has a hard time hanging out with me for 45 minutes this long if I'm just continuing to talk. So, y'all, we love you. We appreciate you. And go through and shine. Remember, we're in a human revolution. Let's stand out together.